Okay, hi. Hey, if you're new here, welcome to the FitZen Project. And if you're not, you already know we don't play small around here. I'm Rachel, corporate project executive by day, yoga teacher and retreat host by passion, and a woman wildly committed to helping you stop outsourcing your power. This show is where structure meets soul, where we regulate the nervous system and scale the business, and where we stop pretending burnout is normal. Quick love to the humans and brands that brought this show, and I actually use all these in real life. Page Create for bold, creative entrepreneurs. Bliss, Lotus and Luna, Lifeform Yoga Mat, my ride or die, and Breathwork with Tabitha DeBruin. She is a game changer. Links are in the show notes. Support the ones that support this work. And all right, let's get it. Let's talk about today. All right. So today's guest is someone who's been in the performance world long before optimization became trendy. Chris Ryan is a nationally recognized performance coach, entrepreneur, and founder of the Chris Ryan Fitness app, the science-driven strength and longevity platform helping ambitious professionals perform at a high level in business, at home, and in their bodies. He's a former Division I track and field athlete at the University of Florida and was named one of America's top 10 trainers and became widely known as featured trainer on NBC Strong. He also helped pioneer the connected fitness movement as a founding trainer for Mirror before at-home fitness exploded into what it is today. So over the last 15 years, he's worked with executives, founders, athletes, and high-performing parents while contributing to publications like Men's Health, Women's Health, Men's Fitness and Shape, and partnering with brands like Nike, Lululemon, and Polo Ralph Lauren. So without further ado, I want you to know this conversation goes way beyond fitness. We get into identity, leadership, longevity, balancing drive with presence, and how to stop treating health like something separate from the life you're trying to build. So let's get into it. Welcome to the FitZen Project. All right. Well, welcome to the FitZen Project, Chris. It is awesome to have you here. It's going to be a great conversation.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Rachel, and thanks for all that you do in the fitness community and making the world a better place.
Back at you. So speaking of that, I'd love for you to dive in just straight away. Let's talk about this fitness community. I know you've got an app. I know this is a big thing that you promote and this is what you embody. So tell us about this.
Sure. So the Chris Ryan Fitness app, it's a live and on-demand app, if you will. So there's literally hundreds of workouts on there. I think 700 plus at last count of on-demand content, which you would normally associate with some sort of fitness app where, oh, I just want to take a workout. I want to take a beginner strength arms workout, for instance. And you find that category and you just plug on in and play that workout. And it's me in there training with you the whole time. And there might be some shout outs from the previous people that were in that live class. Which brings me to the next point, which is really cool, is that we actually offer full-length live workouts as well, several times a week, usually about 5 to 7 times a week, a full-length workout. So a lot of times the workouts are going to be anywhere between 24 to 45 minutes in length. And those workouts are a ton of fun. And you'll see dozens and dozens of people in that class and shout outs of random people from around the country, around the world that might be in that class with sometimes with a full length like name like Rachel, or maybe it's like Fitzarm Patrick or whatever you want to like to play on words. So the shout outs are fun. And so far they've all been family friendly shout outs as well. So, but those are really cool because that involves the community and showing up and like kind of like developing, quote unquote, like friendships with people from around the country or around the world that are going to be in the same class. So sometimes, in years past, it may be like, hey, I want to go to the gym with my friend or go to this boutique fitness class with my friend or yoga class with my friend. Everyone's got busy schedules. Some people have children, some people have different careers, different hours of day that they operate. But I always say the best workout is the one that you actually do. And if you can do it with friends or family and along the way, even all the power to it. Or if you can do it with an amazing community, all the power to it on that one as well. And then with the community aspect, we have a great community platform as well where people cheer people on. They'll post goals. I'm looking to do lose 20 pounds, or I'm looking to tone up my arms for summer and fill my sleeves with all this glorious muscle, biceps or triceps or whatever your goal may be in life. Not everyone's going to always have the same goals. So within the community section, there's breakout little groups of those as well. Of course, as the head coach, I always go in there and cheer people on and try to be in there as much as possible. But I found too, from a coaching standpoint, it's almost fun to kind of let your like captains, if you will, rise to the top and kind of take those, those unsung leads as well within the community platform and be the leaders within those platforms as well. And that's what really makes the community great is thought-provoking content, people that will be there to support one another and show you that, hey, you're not on this fitness journey by yourself. You're actually in it together with an amazing community of thousands of other people from around the world. And guess what? Sometimes what you're facing, that challenge, that tribulation, whatever it might be, they've already faced it. And this is how they got through it. And this is what they do to combat that situation or that challenge, if you will, just by showing up and being as consistent as possible.
That's so cool. And I can tell you're so excited about this because, like, your whole entire body just changed and, like, you get a little twinkle in your eye when you speak about
Oh,
this. So this
thank you.
is obviously, like, something you really love to do, which is even better
Oh, yeah.
because why not
Hmm.
do what you love to do, right? So you create this
100%.
community and they all get to work out together. That's a whole, like, play on different apps that I don't know that I see at all very often. I mean, there's Beachbody that I feel like is a
Hmm.
very close concept and they have live stuff, but you have to pay extra to be part of the live and everything else. But
Yeah.
this sounds like an actual community, like
Yeah.
a gift, so to
Yeah, it
speak.
is. And it's everything's included, $29.99 a month. It's about the best I could do as far as all the technology that goes in the app to try to make it as user friendly as possible along the
Yeah.
way and be something I'm proud of and to have an existing business, I'd love to make it free. I can't. I have 3 kids and a family and
Yeah.
a wife and got to support the family somehow. So, but most people feel like they can afford that. I always, I run some specials here and there during like the Black Friday, Cyber Monday timeframe as well, where they can buy an annual membership for a discounted rate. Also, there's an annual membership that's discounted off the top of that as well. So like you can pay for, you're looking in the low $20 per month average time frame if you're buying on the annual, and sometimes there's even some bigger deals than that. Based on the annual deal itself. So I try to really price it out to make it as advantageous as possible. And the workouts themselves, they don't involve any sort of major equipment behind me. Of course, I have my fun tools that I like to partake in, with the squat rack and, the power rack and the, Rogue Echo bike. I have a rower back there. I have a hex bar. I have a whole bunch of other fun toys for myself because I'm a gym rat. I've been a gym rat my whole life. But in general, you can get a heck of a workout and cast a really wide net over overall health, fitness, and longevity with just some dumbbells, your body weight, maybe a workout mat if you want, or if you have soft carpeting, you can work out on that or a pillow to put underneath your knees. If you're a beginner and you're doing any sort of like knee push-ups or knee planks, that sort of a thing, a whole host of things to do. And when I say the beginner workouts as well and the intermediate level workouts, I always offer some sort of modifiers in there as well for people. Because sometimes not everyone can do a move or an exercise like a push up or even a high plank where they're holding themselves in a high plank push up position. So I always offer modifications along the way for many different exercises so
Yeah.
that it really is as all encompassing as possible without being, detrimental or taken away from the class for what that class is there. So, but if you jump in an advanced class, it's just kind of like when the pilot and you jump on an airline flight and they're like, hey, we're going to go to Cleveland. So if you're not on the plane to Cleveland, make sure that you get off now or whatever. Same way too. Like if you're in an advanced level class, it says advanced level like 17 times before you get into the class, right? So make
Yeah.
sure you know what you're in for along the way because there are a lot of advanced people on the app as well. And I do teach to an advanced level in those classes. So gloves are
Yeah.
off on those. There won't be any modifications. And those classes are absolutely super fun. And even the most advanced exercisers out there that I've run into over the course of time, they take the advanced level classes and they feel extremely challenged and they can't believe like what you can do with some dumbbells, of course. And I always have stipulations on the size of, the weights of the dumbbells that you should be using at those points as
Yeah.
well. Because sometimes people like to lift heavy, you're not going to squat with the same weight that you're going to be doing a shoulder raise with. You're a great way
Yeah.
to rip your shoulder out of socket. So I teach in a way that is both fun inviting to as many people as possible within those set genres, try to make it easy to understand. So it's a beginner level class, intermediate level class, and advanced level class. And we take it from there, and then breakdowns according to like a cardio class or
Yeah.
some sort of strength based class with dumbbells or bands or, resistance bands or mini bands, that sort of a thing. And a few kettlebell classes along the way. Another ones I'm really proud of too, that you'd love as well, is the stretch and mobility classes. Those are absolutely fantastic. Some of the best ones that I personally love to teach, because unfortunately I don't practice what I preach as much as I would love to. So I'm a solid like B minus in the stretch and mobility platform on my own end, on my own personal end. So when I teach them in the class, I feel like, hey, you know what? I'm doing well on my body too. But they're actually amazing. It's just more along the lines of like where people like to make excuses. And I'm guilty
Hmm.
of that too along the time. Is like, oh, I'd rather just work out. When in fact, like doing a good stretch and mobility session for a 15-minute time frame, for instance, which most of those classes are, it just feels so dang good on your body. And that couple minutes into it, you're like, oh, I should do this more often. So I
Yeah.
love doing that for the shoulders, the hips, and a whole bunch of different movement and mobility exercises, and that just make your spine feel great, your hips open in a different way, your shoulders pulled back,
Hmm.
practicing to open up your spine and your posture in a whole different multitude of ways. And working on the long strong muscles like your hamstrings and your quads, and opening up your shoulders in a different way, kind of like I'd say getting up underneath your armpit. I liken that to like getting into taking your car into the service station, and they get up underneath the carriage of your car to like fix it, right? They don't start top down, they get up underneath it. Same way with your
Yeah.
shoulders, is getting up underneath it to open up the lats. If anyone's ever had rolfing done with a massage, the hurts good massage, where they really get in there, that's without being a self massage, but that's kind of like the aspect of like getting up and underneath the area itself to help open it up with a bunch of different shoulder rotational style movements as
Yeah.
well, that are great for anyone, whether you're a college level athlete or an Olympian or a pro sport athlete, to an 85-year-old that just wants to have a better golf swing.
Right. Right. So you've been doing this for a bit, obviously. I mean, you were a track
Yeah.
star in college. And what did you do? How did you even get into all of this? Was this like a groomed from parents, or what'd you do? How'd this happen?
Well, maybe a little bit. I think fitness and health was always groomed into my brother and I in our childhood, which is great. I love that. I'm trying to do the same for my family as well, within reason, without being so overbearing. I don't want to be overbearing about it, but kind of like, hey, this is what mom and dad do, and this is kind of like what you should do too, but not drilling it into them like a drill sergeant, more of like kind of learn by doing, and seeing mom and dad be strong, and hopefully they adhere to that, and understand like, oh, that's pretty cool. My parents can do things that other parents necessarily can't do, right?
Yeah.
Or my dad can throw the ball with me without having shoulder pain, like so many mid 40s dads. Like I have friends that are like, oh, I can't throw the football with my son, and I'm like, that sucks. Like you
Yeah.
should be able to, or I can't lift that suitcase or whatever. I can't like put my toddler on my shoulders and walk around at a county fair. I'm like, well, that's too bad for you. Like you should be able to do those things. And if you
Yeah.
can't, like, maybe there's something to work on for yourself. Cause sometimes parents that feel like, they say that they love their family, but then they don't love themselves to take care of themselves, to provide for their family in the best way possible. And I
Yeah.
mean that is like, if you're overweight and you work, 60 hours plus a week or whatever, and you drink sodas and you eat bad food and you drink alcohol to, you know, to unwind at the end of the day and that sort of a thing, like those aren't helpful for you. That's not helpful for your family. Like you got to really like take a deep look in the mirror and say, okay, what's going to be best for my family? Because I work so hard to provide for them financially. Like,
Yeah.
what can I do like internally to be better, which will probably be better for you financially too, because you're going to have more energy to do better in your career, and also be a better spouse, parent, partner in life, whatever it might be. Um,
Right.
so learning by doing with my parents definitely was there. And then also, just having it like knowing what fitness does for you, and learning that you could be an athlete like I was at a pretty high level, but then that's not forever. At some point you're going to be retired from that sport. I was retired by injuries. I didn't, retire under my own terms. I was retired by, a smorgasbord of annoying injuries that kind of was like, all right, well, at some point you got to get on with your life. And I
Yeah.
did. But I learned a lot along the way about what a body can and cannot handle. I learned how to train smarter, not necessarily harder. And I pulled all that into, into a health and fitness program that I thought was fantastic. I started training clients in my late 20s after I'd sold a previous business that had non-fitness related, but I'd always been a entrepreneur and a business person first and foremost. And I love health and fitness. So if I figured out a way to push all those pieces together in a beautiful puzzle, that's what I was going to be happiest doing. And so I did that. And I moved to New York City, which, was pretty crazy to me at the time. But like the old Frank Sinatra song says, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I felt like I love challenges in life. So I did that on a whim. And the rest is history. I really like bootstrapped myself and invested in myself, invested into my business there. And built a great training business where I trained a bunch of executives in New York pre-COVID. And then during COVID, everything switched to some sort of online format. And
Yeah.
that's what I did thereafter. And I never looked back, where I take clients from all over the world into an executive training program, a one-to-one accountability training program, as well as the app. So sometimes people want a little bit more than the app has to offer, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, I'm I have different goals for myself. I've, I set aside a certain amount of money for myself to invest in myself. I really need some more coaching and accountability coaching beyond just the app of like the live workouts or the programmable workouts. For whatever reasons, I just can't press play,
Yeah.
like it's as easy
Yeah.
as that. So they're paying me for my phone number and my email. And they're paying me for, meetings a few times a month in person or, over FaceTime or Zoom, so that I
Yes.
can talk to them more and see, like, really delve into what have the last few weeks been like. What did the next few weeks look like for business travel, for instance? That's a big one for folks out there is, like their life gets pushed around a little bit due to scheduling on their end. And these are people that have extremely great careers, and that they make a lot of money, but they also know that they are smart enough that they need to invest in themselves.
Hmm.
Most of them have let themselves go, unfortunately, in a certain direction, and that wasn't exactly the healthiest direction. And so now they're trying to pull it back into a healthier direction moving forward for the decades ahead for their lives. So those are always fun people to work with as well on that
Yeah.
front. And that's also on chrisryanfitness.com. You can fill out an application there because I can't I can't take on so many people on that program as well. I usually keep it limited to about 20 people or less per month on that front.
What do you notice about them though? Like, okay, so let's take a senior leader, for example. Let's say you've got
Mhm.
a senior leader that's not yet executive and they are reaching for that executive. Do you think it's a direct correlation of how you treat yourself in your body, in your workout, in your physical body to where you land in your career? Is that a direct correlation you've seen?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I don't have the exact, like, I don't have the database studies from a think tank that has done those projects, but based on my sample size of dealing with people in New York City, which is probably the epitome of the business world across the whole
Yeah,
globe, I'm sure
I'll
there's
give
people
that
in
for
London
sure.
or in Hong Kong that would say different, but, like, in general, New York is New York, and it is what it is in the business world, right? It's the number one business market in the world, for
Hmm.
better or for worse. And when you're dealing with the top level people from that standpoint, or the people that are striving to be at that top level, you notice certain characteristics, right?
Yeah.
Like they usually carry themselves differently. They have a certain awareness about themselves, but they also have a certain, aspect of knowing that they are important, that they need to invest in themselves to be better, whether that's through education, health, fitness, longevity, whatever it might be. There are people that went back to school to get advanced degrees a lot of times, a graduate degree, an MBA, a law degree, any of those types. They're the type of people that are going out and fundraising for a Series A or Series B for their entrepreneurial aspects or whatever they might be. They're people that have, millions of dollars at stake, and they can go out and or tens of millions or hundreds of millions or billions of dollars at stake at any one project or business. And there are people that command a room. And to do that, you have to have a presence about you. If you have
Hmm.
really poor posture, do you really think that's going to help you out, no matter how smart or how driven you are?
Right.
do you realize that like if you're giving a presentation and you're sitting like this and you're looking down at notes because your cervical spine isn't strong and you can't like pull your shoulders back versus having that awareness of being able to project your voice across the room, you're going to be much more confident in yourself. And not to say that you need to be Greek god, producing, but you need to have a certain status about yourself because that leads to confidence. And what people ultimately invest in is confidence in
Yeah.
you. So if you look the part, you act the part, it's going to be much easier to get things done on your end and meet your goals, whatever that might be in the business world. If you
Yeah.
don't, is it impossible? Absolutely not. I've seen great stories of other folks that, can overcome a lot of things. Is it going to be much easier? Yeah. They've done studies on height, for instance. Like if you're like 6'2" or 6'3", you generally have a great opportunity to earn more money. And that those studies have been over the course of time as well. And it's not that I can make people taller, but I can make people, you know, own their space much more confidently as well.
Right.
And that's with strength training, cardio, following proper nutrition, not
Yeah.
being like dead in the bags under the eyes because you're drinking heavily or whatever, and curbing the alcohol, tightening up, making your skin look a little fresher by having blood flow to your skin because you're exercising. You ultimately look healthier, and you
Yeah.
can't argue that because
You
people
cannot.
know people that train, even people that train and then they go away for a few days on vacation, they eat a lot or they drink a lot or they eat unhealthy foods or they're staying out late, not sleeping correctly or whatever, and they
Yeah.
come back and like they're generally a healthy person. They're like, oh my God, I look like crap. And like they kind of do, I mean, I've
Yeah.
done that.
It
Like you're
shows.
like, I mean, we had 3 kids, and so just doing that of like being a parent and having sleepless nights, you're like wake up and you're like, oh my God, can I have some eye cream, borrowing it from my wife or whatever because I have bags under my eyes? And I'm like, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
It's not that like it can't be done, but like sleep is so important. Like hydration is so important. Proper hydration is so important. Alcohol does not hydrate you. I'm sorry to say, you know, uh, realizing like not having extra sugary drinks or like coffees that have whipped cream on top and all the other things that,
Right.
the frappuccinos and all this other stuff that have become popular over the last few decades with Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks and the other coffee shops. I'm like, no, just, you want to have caffeine, go for it. I love black coffee. If you want to have a dollop of whole milk in there or 2%, but not a lot, then go for it. I'm fine with that. But you can't put in all these other things into your coffee drink that ends up being 1,000 calorie punch when, in general, give or take about 3,500 kilocalories is a pound of fat. And I always say the liquid diet is the low hanging fruit for people to like just take down, tighten up their skin and take down their body fat percentage almost immediately. And I'm not a fan of like drastic weight loss. I'm a fan of like steady state weight loss because
Yeah.
it's easier for your metabolism to reset, and that's why like we could talk later on like GLP-1s, for instance, if people are interested in that, but in your listeners. But it's just like you got to make sure that you have enough of an offset in your body to reset your metabolism with muscle gain as you have fat loss. If not, you're gonna gain back that fat pretty quickly. Um, and as we've seen in TV shows like The Biggest Loser, where it's like super drastic weight loss from 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And the TV show that I was on was from the same producers. They came out with NBC Strong because they were like, oh, why are all these contestants gaining back all their weight? Because they didn't concentrate on building back the strength. It was like Hollywood shock and awe of like all this loose skin, right? And they didn't
Yeah.
understand like a steady state weight loss is much healthier for that individual rather than losing, 100 pounds in a month or whatever. But in
Right.
Hollywood, that looked a little bit better. When in general, you're like, oh no, let's steadily lose a few pounds or what, percentage wise, depending on how heavy the person was that they needed to lose that weight in the first place. But in
Yeah.
general, you want to make sure that you replace the weight loss with muscle gain, and then that resets your metabolism to keep yourself stronger, but also curb the appetite, as well, and metabolize the food that you do eat, hopefully the healthier food that you do eat thereby going forward.
Right. What I think that is very interesting too is like you are a big proponent of like steady wins the race, but here's the thing is what you're actually offering is an energy reset and a total conscious way of living in management and leadership and executive function. And you are by providing that at the top level, you're making it shown and known for everyone else that wants to be part of that, how to do it. And it's like you're paving the way for success. And through treating your body great, through resetting your
100%.
insides, you know? So I think that's
100%.
awesome.
They always, yeah, they say, the fish, what's the old saying? The fish rots from the head down or something like that.
Yeah,
And it's the same way too. If you're a leader, a business person or an entrepreneur and you own your own business, what happens is I've worked with people over the course of time and I started doing more in the corporate wellness side because the CEOs or the CFOs or the people that are running those businesses realize how good they feel. They're like, well, how good could my company be if I just, help
right?
people out along this way? So I was able to develop a program along that way where I could do batch accountability coaching for a whole host of different businesses out there. And the sweet spot I found for me on that level is like companies mid-size between 50 to 500 employees, where you can really make a big difference. Not to say bigger or smaller is worse. It's just like that size seems to be like really honed in, where leadership isn't as fragmented all over the world, for instance, and like people are
Yeah,
generally in the same company, and even if they are, you can do things around I've worked with companies like with people around the world, but they still are used to having that same Zoom space, if you will. And
yeah,
that's been a lot of fun as well, just to see people kind of pay it forward, in life. And I love that. And I feel like I'm paying it forward in life. And you are too, like, having this podcast and everything that you do in your world, the same way I followed my passions and the way that in 2026 we're able to do things now that 10 or 20 years ago you would never thought to do in the
right.
format that we are. Because I was, up until COVID, I was like, hey, I just got to be an in-person trainer. I'll take on only New York City people and I'll trade dollars for hours the best I can. And if I want to make more money, I just have to charge more money. Um, or sleep less and train more people, right? Rather than being like, oh, if I want to, monetize my business more, I can start developing an app. I can build things out in a
Yeah.
different way, and take on clients from all over the world and make the world a healthier place as well.
How do you take care of you when you're taking
Oh,
care of
good
everybody
question.
else? 3 kids, wife, big business?
Yeah, it's funny. I try to really disconnect. If I'm with my family, we don't have cell phones at the table. For instance, like at the dinner table, we try to eat dinner as much as we can as a family. I think those kind of like old school things are super important to my wife and I, and she makes it important. My wife Denise, lucked out, times a million when I married her. And she's the best mother to our kids. Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. So I was just thinking about, some of the Mother's Day plans that we have. Y you know, I think, like, those kind of, like, old school values are really important of spending time with your kids, spending time with your family, as much as possible, communicating, in person, if you will, even though we're
Yeah,
communicating, across the media spectrum here and the podcast. But in general, especially with your loved ones, like, trying to be there present with them when you are present instead of one foot in, one foot out. That's just on a pure parenting level. And so that really takes care of my soul. Like if I know my household is good, if I know my wife is good, and I know my kids are good, I'm good. And if
right.
they're not, then I'm not good. On an intrinsic level, I think like definitely exercise personally helps me out. I get a lot on me through a lot of people and a lot of energy. No
Yep.
matter what, from my the everything that I do in this world of people emailing me on the app or text I have to go over from, the one-to-one clients or dealing with, the corporate wellness side. I love it, but yeah, of course, it's like any business. You still have to have some downtime for yourself
Yeah,
as well. So, I always try to read about 15 to 20 minutes before bed. And I try not to read anything. I love historical books. I love biographies, autobiographies, learning about the world. I love history. So I try to read, something that's doesn't have anything to do with health and fitness per se. It's not like a business book of like 101 marketing strategies or whatever. Those are fine,
yeah,
but like not when you go to bed for at least for me. But I do think like reading about like historical context of anything in history. I always love all sorts of different parts of history. Very cool. And so that really kind of like, helps me to like pull it down a little bit more. But I think
yeah.
generally speaking, like meals with your family, laughing with your kids and your spouse, and um, small things, going for a walk around the block, holding my wife's hand, seeing the kids play and wrestle with one another, wrestling with the kids, whatever it might be, is just, little things that could just go so far into my soul in the most positive direction possible.
Yeah, that's honestly what we do, and we cultivate in our house too, like home cooked meals all the time and no phones at the table. Like we always sit at the table together, and it's like a big
Hmm.
connection thing. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, like somebody looking at their phone, you know the face they make? Like,
Oh yeah, so kind of like yeah,
yeah,
it's
you
not
look
exactly the
just
most pleasant
pissed,
smiling face.
like all done.
Yeah,
And that's the
a
energy
hundred
when your
percent.
kids, they don't have a phone, that's the energy they're picking up. And they're like, oh, wow, you're just
Totally.
always
Yeah, and you
mad.
wanna produce eye contact, ask them about their day,
Yeah.
all of that, and
Mhm.
we have an 11, a 9, and a 3-year-old, so we're, like, all over the spectrum, right? You have the
You are.
energy of a toddler, you have, going into pre-puberty with the 11-year-old, and the 9-year-old's falling shortly behind, and so, like, there's a lot, like, just a lot of different energy, and
Yeah.
everyone wants the kids wanna talk, the older 2 wanna talk over one another at times, and you gotta say,
Yep.
"No," like, it's parenting, right? And I love it. And yeah, home cooked meals by Denise are the best. She's Greek American, so he cooks very healthy Mediterranean Greek food all many days, and I just love to eat a lot of it. And thank
Yeah.
goodness it's healthy. And thank goodness I work out. But that's another thing too. It's like, if you have healthy food in your house, you'll eat healthy. If you have crappy food in your house, you're gonna eat crappy. You know,
True.
like, just don't buy the crappy food at the grocery store. Don't have it delivered. Like, like, try to have good, healthy home cooked meals. 80, 90% of the time, you're going to be like 100% successful.
Wow, that's like, such a simple formula. That's
Yeah,
just
it
like
is.
the
It is.
easiest formula you can
Like, you don't
have.
need to be perfect. I tell a lot of the corporate clients too, I always say, we're aiming for about 17 to 18 out of your 21 meals a week, assuming most people eat 3 meals, to be good. They don't need to be perfect, but they need to be good. The other 3 or 4 meals, I don't really care. Honestly, I don't care if you have a hot fudge sundae or whatever, right? Like, but
Yeah,
if you can do that like 18 meals a week, like, go for it. And hopefully you're not eating a hot fudge sundae, because like hopefully you realize, like, all of a sudden you feel better the healthier you eat,
yeah,
or the less alcohol you drink.
yeah,
And that goes a long way with people. And the amount of people that, like, once they get past that initial hump of several days of doing whatever they're doing, and they see that they look better, they feel better internally, they're like, inflammation's down because they're not, having as much alcohol or dairy products, for instance, and
mhm.
all of it, right? And they just feel like, I just feel better. I look better when I look at myself in the mirror. Someone said, "What'd you do? Like, why are you glowing or whatever?" That's cool. That's fun to hear, right?
Yeah.
Um. So I love getting people going in the right direction in that front.
For sure. I think that's awesome. And I think that, being in corporate America, I'm in corporate America, I'm a project executive by day anyway. And then I see, my most successful executives in my company are also fit. So I'm like,
Hmm.
obviously, there's some correlation going on with how things are run. And then they also really promote in my company like modern health, and they really like, healthy mindsets. They really like healthy attitudes and, strong foot forward towards life. So I think this is like right on par with, my life anyway. So it
Oh,
works.
100%, 100%. And I'm sure most of your listeners too. That's why they listen to your podcast in the first place,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like one of those things, like, you want to lead by example the best that you can, even whether you're your CEO, CFO, or C-suite person in your company, or even
Yeah.
like a project manager leader within a subset of a different department of that company, you're still leading folks along the way, or a parent,
Yeah.
or your community, like if you're involved with your church or your a kid's sports team, whatever it is. Like, I was just training my son's lacrosse team with a bunch of 11-year-old boys, like 20 11-year-old boys, trying to like herd sheep yesterday, last night, during some sprint conditioning work and stuff, and teaching them how to do lateral runs faster and backward forward runs faster, and then some 50-yard sprints, and dealing with like a few kids that are like lolling around, and then
Right.
you have like 5 to 7 that really want to like take it seriously. You have another 10 that are kind of like somewhere in between, and you have another 3 or 4 that are just like, like just like taking their sweet old time or not paying attention and
Yeah.
distracting the group. And, you have to, a good thing I have a nice, powerful whistle and a big booming coaching voice when I need to.
You're like, get it together. All right, let me ask you. I've got two questions really. First, I
Sure.
love asking, what does it mean to you to be in the business of yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. The business of yourself, I think, is to be the best that you can be so that you can be positively affecting the world around you, whether that's through your own business, your family, your friends, your community, whatever that might be. That if you concentrate on yourself, you'll be better for everyone else that you affect around you. And it's kind of like when you board an airplane and they have the safety video on. It's like put on your mask first and then assist the child or the senior
Mm,
citizen or
yeah,
whoever's next to you, that sort of a thing. It's the same way. Like if you generally take care of yourself, this is not being selfish. I repeat, not being selfish to take care of yourself first. Yes, you may need to like get up a little earlier and go to bed a little earlier so you can get up earlier to exercise, especially for the busy parents out there.
mhm,
You will have to make some sacrifices, right? Within reason, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a sacrifice doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, right? Like maybe you can't Netflix and chill and binge watch TV until midnight because you do have to get up for your 6 a.m. workout or 5 a.m. workout before the little ones get up, or you have a
yeah,
longer commute because you're trying to, take on new accounts for your business or whatever those
yeah,
goals for your day may entail, right? But if you can just pay yourself first and realize that if I get my exercise in, or maybe it's at night, maybe it's middle of the day, maybe you're like, some of the job formats nowadays have a whole host of different flexibility options in your daily life. It's more
yeah,
about prioritizing and making that carve out. I have clients that I'll see in the middle of the day sometimes that are the one-to-one clients, and like they'll be noon or 1 o'clock wherever they're at, and they'll just be like, no, I need to do this now because if I don't do it now, I had business morning lunch or flying or wherever, and I want to see my
yeah,
kids, my family afterwards. So I just take it out in the middle of my day. And you know what? You can do that. And a lot of times, if you actually look at your schedule on an overall 24/7 basis, you can actually make time for yourself in different pockets. It's more about prioritizing that time and using it efficiently and effectively, not
yeah,
lollygagging around and like scrolling and checking your Instagram during your workout, but actually, like, once again, back to what we were talking about, phones not at the dinner table. Like, don't bring your phone into the gym if you don't need it. Obviously, if it's the middle of
yeah,
the day and you need to be on a call or whatever, that's fine. But in general, unless it's an absolute emergency, that 30 minutes or 45 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is that you set aside for yourself, like be 100% focused on that time for yourself, and you'll
yeah.
be so much better for everyone else out there.
That focus is really truly what drives the business of yourself for me. Like, it's like, that's the whole purpose of yoga anyway, is to learn
Hmm.
how to focus. That's the whole point. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily how far can you reach or touch your toes or how limber can you get. It's how long can you
Hmm.
focus, period. So that's what it is for me. All right, there's one more
And the
question.
one thing with yoga that I've always loved too is like within reason is like and within like the strength and conditioning community too is the breathing aspect.
Mm,
And that's so
yep,
good for people as they become overwhelmed throughout their day or before like a big pitch or a phone call or a
yep,
presentation or a speech or whatever it might be in the business world. Like the ability to hone in your own breathing patterns and take it down or take it up depending on where you need to be. Yoga
yeah,
is absolutely fantastic for that. Strength training is absolutely fantastic for that. Any sort of like cardio training is absolutely fantastic for that. So you don't get beyond your breath.
bingo. All right. So every time I would like to ask you a question from a previous
Hmm.
podcast that was left, and then I want you to ask a question for the next podcast guest I've got going. So the question left for you was, what's something in your life
Okay, I love it.
that you can or are willing to subtract where you immediately know you have more peace?
Hmm. Mm, potty training. Our 3-year-old's going through potty training. So any parent that's had or any parent that's gone through the potty training phase, you know exactly what I'm talking about,
Dude.
right? It's like it's so daunting and so challenging, and that as a parent, like you could be the most like peaceful, like chilled person, but there's just like there's just like just things that happen in potty training, and I want to keep it, you know, above the brow here, and keep it positive and everything else, but you're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
What you're
And it's
saying.
just
Yep.
hilarious. Like the amount of like, you know, things that you go through in potty training is hilarious. And when you look back on it, you're like, wow, my patience is being tested, or like my willpower, or whatever it is. And you're a little one. We've all done it as a human
Right.
being, right? And it's like, we don't remember it. Like, I don't remember potty training when I was 2 or 3 or whatever, you know? Um, but yeah, thank God, thank goodness we're like right at the end. You know, like we've done the hard part, and but it's just it's the third one has been a little challenging, and but he's just a little love bug, and he's the best. But I don't know if it's because I'm older now and like less patience, but I always say, like, after you like take that 30 seconds to reset and clean up or whatever, you're like, okay, like that is extreme challenge, because it always happens like when you're got 10,000 other things to
Oh,
do.
yeah.
And
It's
of
so
course, then you have
inconvenient.
to totally reset and clean and just everything. And you're just like, you know, that's tough. So if there's anything I could subtract, it would be potty training right now.
For
But
more
I
peace.
mean that in a positive. I mean that in a positive way too, because it ultimately makes you a better person. I love challenges in life, and I do think like I'm probably not the most patient person. I probably think that's one of my downfalls or drawbacks. And so for me, I feel like, you know, it's you know, God's will. It's a challenge. It's nature. There's nothing wrong with it. It's totally normal. But it's like kind of like the old like board games, like where you got to get past this next stage to go, you know, to advance,
Yeah.
draw that card or roll the dice in a certain, you know, number or whatever. Like you can't get there, you can't advance to go till you do whatever you need to do there. And so like now it's at that point with our third kid. And it's been challenging, but it's a practice in patience and fortitude for sure as a parent.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. All right. Well, what's your question you want to leave for the next guest?
Oh, that's great. Oh my goodness, you're making me get all philosophical now. I love it. I love it. Okay, I don't want to sound morbid, but if you were to die today, what would people say about you at your funeral? Right? Like, so your eulogy, like, what would you want people to say about you, or what would they say about you? Because I think that's how ultimately like how you're perceived or remembered in this world when you are living. And I don't want to come off morbid for anybody on that one, but I do think like when you actually say, "Oh, we have a finite amount of time on this planet. What am I doing each day?" Because sometimes we can be blinders on with our everyday aspects of potty training, you know, like we just
Yeah.
spoke about, or trying to stay fit or make the healthy choices or trying to get the sales in your business to like generate revenue and, you know, or cut costs or
Mhm.
coach your kids team, or you know, be involved with your church or your community, or work on your kids you know, science project in elementary school or whatever it might be, you know, or try to be a better spouse or partner to your loved one in your life. You know, Mother's Day is coming up this weekend, and trying to sit there and say, how lucky am I that I'm married to the woman of my dreams, who's absolutely the most amazing mother to our children. And, you know, how can I honor that each and every day, not just one day a year, you know?
Yeah.
And all those things, you know. So like, how would you be remembered, you know? And hopefully, like I said, it's not morbid, but it's more of a positive type of question for the
Yeah.
folks or for the person that answers that.
I can't wait for the next person to answer it. Quite frankly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I I think I know who it goes to at this moment, but to be determined. So it always is like, can you answer this question? Do I want to know the answer
Yeah.
you got? So that's great. Well, Chris, I so appreciate you and your time. I think having this conversation has been fun. What is
Yeah, it's
a
been
way
great. It's been
you said
great.
chrisryan.com, right? That's
ChrisRyanFitness.com. So ChrisRyan fitness, FITNESS.com. That's my website. Also my Instagram handle is at Chris Ryan Fitness. YouTube, same way. LinkedIn, same way. People can find me there, on all those different platforms. And so just Chris Ryan Fitness across all those different platforms. They can email me, chris@chrisryanfitness.com. But
Simple.
yeah, check it out. Then what's cool, by the way, with the app, if they wanted, is there's a free 7-day trial. Absolutely 100% access free for the app. The only thing is it does take a credit card. So they do know that
Yeah.
you're human. So you get access to the app because there's a lot of bots out there and things that, hackers
Yeah.
and all this stuff that happens in the online world. So you just put in a normal credit card. You can always cancel it at any point free. Nothing's even, it's not like a hotel either. Nothing gets charged day one. It doesn't get charged till at the end of day 7 if you wanted to keep the app going, that sort of a thing. But I'm very proud of that aspect that we can offer a free 7-day
Yeah.
trial with, it's not just like gated like 3 workouts or 3 nutrition plans or that sort of a thing. It's like, literally, this is the app. Like, do you like it? If you do, awesome, join it,
That's
and then take
awesome.
it from there. Because I'm not trying to, smoke and mirrors people. It's an app that's absolutely amazing. The people that join it love it. It's not an app that shows like 3 reps of an exercise and you have to scroll to the next thing. It's me like literally teaching hundreds and hundreds of workouts on the app, full length workouts, doing 99% of the exercises with you along the way, telling some, fun dad jokes along the way and huffing and puffing and sweating it out with you in the hardest workouts and making it, a good teaching moment, understanding why you do certain exercises a certain way, maybe some things that you've learned about in the social media world or online space or from another coach that you want to hone in on the form and you want to understand a form correction and really like how the body moves. And so I take all my experience, all my capability and put into each and every workout for that individual.
I can tell that that's exactly how you probably show up. I've not gotten into the app. I plan on it. Actually, Josh and I, we are getting married June 2nd. And I'm like,
Congratulations.
thank you. And I'm just like, we're going to do something because we're also turning 40. And I'm like, I already do yoga already, like
Mm.
regularly, and we walk and all the things, but there's one another turn up, just one more thing. So we're going to
I
try it
agree.
out.
Yeah, I think yoga is fantastic, but I do think a certain amount of strength training only helps out yoga and vice versa.
Yeah.
Actually, I promote, I'm not a yoga teacher myself, but I tell people all the time in general to take yoga classes or Pilates classes.
Yeah.
And especially the guys out there. I don't think like men in general train enough of like they like to lift heavy, of course, but only
Right.
certain moves. Like, so if we do like banded exercise for the average guy out there, they're always like, "Oh my goodness, I forgot how hard that is on like my chest and shoulders," because like they just want to like a lot of times they just want to lift like heavy weights, and there's nothing wrong. I love lifting heavy, but
Yeah.
to switch it up, to do some higher ups, to do some calisthenics or body weight movements only, or to do yoga flows for your hips and shoulders. And honestly, a lot of the stretch and mobility stuff comes from yoga and Pilates anyway. And
Yeah.
a lot of like yoga and Pilates comes from like different, like the whole strength and conditioning community is like really like, takes a little bit from
It
all the
does.
others.
It's like
Like
religion,
the track and field
quite
community,
frankly.
yeah, the track and field community, if you see a sprinter warm up, they're doing a bunch of like weird little exercises that you could see a gymnast doing as well.
Yeah.
Or like, like sports are the human body moves in a certain direction, right? And
Mhm.
you have some ball and socket joints in your shoulders, your hips, some hinge joints in your elbows and knees. You move in a certain way, or you should move
Yeah.
in a certain way. And so some people say, "Oh, I only do yoga or only lift heavy." Well, maybe if you did both, like it wouldn't be too bad for you.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever strength trained and said, "Oh, that sucks," or "I feel weak," or "I've done
Right.
yoga and I
I
don't
hate
feel
that
as
I did
mobile and
that.
loose anymore." I think sometimes there's like some good bounces and healthier bounces for overall people, in general to do dabble in a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Have a good basis of like strength training. And then Evan spoke that out to yoga, Pilates, cardio, running, rowing, swimming, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
to really have a healthy balance across the spectrum and then play sports too. Play tennis, play pickleball, golf, play some pickup basketball, throw a ball with your kids or your friends or whatever, throw a frisbee at the beach, chase people around, play tag, whatever it might be, all those things and then some are just absolutely fantastic for you. So,
Right.
have fun when you train. Don't just like train to like, like you said, looking down at your phone earlier with a scowl on your face because you're like typing away on an email or whatever. You should smile when you work out. You should be, flexing the smile as much as you are your biceps.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. And also, if you aren't great at teaching yoga. I am. You can just send your people to me. I'll send my people to
There we
you.
go. I love it.
We'll make this
There we go. I love it.
communication.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, I appreciate you, Chris.
I would
This
gladly
was
do that. Gladly do
awesome.
that.
I feel like I learned a lot, so that was really cool. And yeah, I can't wait for people to listen to this because it's so needed at any aspect. It doesn't matter if you're high executive or you're a mom just literally trying to survive. I feel like this floats in everybody's
Exactly.
world. So, all
That's right. That's right.
Well,
Have a
thank
great
you
day,
so
Rachel.
much.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, all right, all right. If this conversation hit home for you, make sure you go check out Chris Ryan and everything he's building over at chrisryanfitness.com. And honestly, what I appreciate most about this conversation is it wasn't about extremes or punishment, perfection, or chasing some unrealistic version of health. It was about sustainability, energy, longevity, even presence. And I think that matters, especially in a world where so many of us are high achieving externally while internally running themselves into the ground. So Chris talked a lot about leadership through embodiment, and I deeply believe that too. The way you care for yourself impacts the way you lead, parent, love, communicate, create, and show up in every room you walk into. Your body isn't separate from your success, y'all. It's carrying it. So maybe this episode isn't just about fitness. Maybe it's about asking yourself, what would shift in my life if I treated my health like an investment instead of an afterthought? So, as always, thank you for being here with me inside the FitZen Project. And if this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs the reminder that taking care of themselves is not selfish. It's leadership. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected because we've got some incredible conversations coming up in your way. So until next time, breathe deeper, my friends, move intentionally, and remember, you are your most important project. Oh.